What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Sports Exchange Podcast. My name is Tim. Going solo today. All right, we had some things, conflicting schedules, but we are here to talk about college football week one. Let's get into it right All right, let's get into it right now. We're going to get into a few key games last night, starting off with Georgia and Clemson. Carson Beck showing us why he's considered to be a top favorite to win the Heisman this year. Um, he might not have put on record-setting numbers, but his composure, the way he ran that offense, it looked like they could have even gone a few more notches higher up in that offense. The defense, different faces, same results, putting a dominant performance up on the field. Clemson had no shot to move the ball anywhere they wanted. What I like more about Georgia was their secondary. Like quarterback Dalen Everett helped lock down Clemson's offense, along with linebacker Jalen Walker, using his 6'2", 250-foot frame to either get in the backfield, cover receivers, stop in the run, whatever he needed to do, he could do. Let's see. So I had a few questions. I was like, is this the best Georgia team we've seen in week one? Last 3-4 years, it seems like they're just dominant. It doesn't matter who they play. But this was against a ranked opponent. I mean, Georgia's Georgia. We know that. Clemson is not who we thought they were. I thought Dabo Swinney was going to come back and show that this program is still contending for the championship. That doesn't seem to be the case. It looks like they're a couple steps behind everyone else. They might be contending for the ACC, but up in the championship level, it doesn't look like they're quite there yet. It's going to be interesting to see how he can keep his team motivated after that loss. And they do have a little bit of a difficult schedule, especially with the ACC conference. Next up, we got Notre Dame versus Texas A&M. This game was a highlight of Saturday, and it didn't disappoint. Both teams that were projected to make the playoffs by an analyst, they both balled out. New quarterbacks, new head coaches, kids that were playing high school just a few months ago, starting offensive line going against Texas A&M defensive line. That would scare the crap out of me. Let's see. I put up a question, and you guys can tell me in the comments. Can Riley Leonard lead the Irish all the way? We know Texas A&M defense is pretty good. Riley Leonard's first game with the Irish, new offensive coordinator coming from LSU. We got other transfer wide receivers. We're trying to mix in a lot of people into this offense, and we knew it wasn't going to be just like fireworks right off the bat with this offense. But what it did show is that the offensive line can compete. They can hold any defensive line, like a pretty good defensive line, and they held them. The offensive weapon, the offense can move the ball. They just need to stop shooting themselves in the foot with early penalties, not being disciplined, running the right route, or Riley Leonard throwing the ball where it should be, which I don't know where the blame goes with that most of the time. It's like, is it on the receiver? Is it on the quarterback? Is it on just the read that the quarterback had? He probably checked off. I don't know, but a lot of penalties. Um, let's see. Defensive battle, would it be one of either create the most turnovers or make the least amount of mistakes? That seemed to be the case. Um, so we had a few interceptions there. Xavier Watts had one. I'm really excited about this kid this year playing Notre Dame. Got Benjamin Morrison, um, Jack Kaiser, like a lot of these players. I'm really excited to see what they do for this defense. Adon Schuler had another intercept, or had the other interception. Uh, I thought we would have seen more designed runs with Connor Wingman. He only had 7 carries for 26 yards, but most of those were even scrambles. They weren't even designed runs. And I also thought Texas A&M had Notre Dame on their heels with like the penalties, trying to jump them like on the offsides. It seems like every drive they were doing it at least once, but they didn't capitalize on it, or they didn't try a different look, different schemes. They just kind of kept their plain offense out there and didn't really do anything. I'm pretty sure like later down in the season they'll probably capitalize them when they have a team doing that. Next up, we have Miami versus Florida. Another quarterback that put on a Heisman highlight reel was Cam Ward for Miami. 385 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. A lot of people believe that this is Miami's year with the talent they have, and the way that their schedule pans out. It's like they really don't play a ranked team, or at least a preseason ranked team, other than Florida State. But I don't consider them ranked anymore after the loss to Georgia Tech. What's going to be a true test for Miami this year, game-wise, I see Virginia Tech and Louisville. What this team has to do is stay focused, stay hungry, and Mario Cristobal is one of the best coaches to have coach your players to stay focused. He's not going to let them let up. He's not going to have their focus derailed. It's like they're going to be zoned in this year. So I'm real looking forward to watching Miami this year. I think they got a young core receiver. They got a great offensive line. The defense was flying all over the field and rushing to the ball. This could be a really good Miami team. So let me know what you think about Miami down in the comments. And we're going to talk about what surprised me the most during week 1 of college football. And number one, a lot of people are talking about how flat Oregon looked against Idaho. I mean, 24-14. I was like, you're 3rd in the nation. You're projected by many to win the national championship. And you come out looking like this? I was like, Idaho was even in striking range. If Oregon would have made a few mistakes, this would have been the biggest upset since Appalachian State beating Michigan. Dan Lanning better get his guys going, because he has 2 weeks before he starts seeing Big Ten opponents. And I'm talking like Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State. Like, if Dan Lanning's squad comes out playing like that, or the way they did against Idaho, I don't see them finishing in the top 25. Like, that was ridiculous. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, they also got to take on Michigan at Michigan November 2nd. So they literally have a month and a half to get their crap together before they take on the national champs. Ohio State's coming up. I don't know. Let's circle back to the Wolverines, because they had some trouble week 1. And I don't even know what to make of it. I didn't watch a lot of it. I'll give you that, because Notre Dame was playing at the same time. But we had two TVs going. We had the Michigan game up, had the Notre Dame game up. You know what? We'll get into Michigan later. They frustrate me with how they played, who their starting quarterback was, but we're going to get into that later. All right. Another thing that surprised me is, let's take a look. I'm going to put the clip up right here. Let's take a look at Robert Morris's cornerback, Robert Carter Jr., and what he did Saturday afternoon. This kid goes up there, one hand, rotates his body, and lands with the interception. Now this goes up with like the OBJ catch, and one of my favorite catches. It's not even really that posterizing, but it's one catch that I remember all the time. It was 2013 Detroit Lions versus Philadelphia Eagles in the blizzard, and looking on TV, it looked like they can't even see a player 3 feet in front of them. It was just a blizzard. It's a wideout, and Matthew Stafford drops back, just heaves the ball down to Calvin Johnson. And I'm thinking, there's no way he can see that. How did Matthew Stafford even see where Calvin Johnson was? And sure enough, the camera pans over to Johnson catching the ball, and he just goes in, slides in. He's got snow just all in his face, man. He just shakes it off. Bad news about that game is they did end up losing. They gave up a huge lead. But, yeah, that's one catch like I always circle back to. Let's see. What do we got? All right. I don't think there was really anything else. I mean, there was a catch in last night's game with USC and LSU, and I'm drawing a blank on this guy's name, and which is why I didn't want to bring it up, but I have to. The USC receiver goes up with just one hand. I don't know how he caught it. He had like 2 or 3 defenders around him. And I believe there was a flag for pass interference during that. And he still comes down with the ball. It's week 1, we have 2 posterizing catches going on both sides of the ball. All right, so next up, we got players to keep an eye on. Number 1, I have Cam Rising. Not an unfamiliar, like everyone knows Cam Rising. Quarterback for the Utah Utes. He threw for 5 touchdowns. Though he didn't throw for a crazy amount of yards, which was only 254. But the thing is, he only threw the ball 15 times. 254 yards out of 15 throws and 5 touchdowns. Yeah, let's get some more passing plays for Cam Rising, and let's get those numbers way up. Next up, we got Jimmy Horn, wide receiver out of Colorado. There's no surprise that Horn is on this list. I'm just curious on what this kid can't do, which I'm sure is a short list of things to do. I'm rooting for Colorado, but I'm not gonna pay attention. If that makes any sense. I'll watch some highlights. If a game is on when I'm waiting for another game to come on, I'll watch it. But I'm not going out of my way to watch Colorado and root them. But I am let's go Colorado. Last year was a roller coaster. You had the opening win against TCU. You beat Colorado State in a 3 or 4 overtime game, and then you just went downhill. You lost your last 6-7 games, and it was very disheartening. Another player, Ashton Jeanty, running back for Boise State. His game against Georgia Southern put him in front of the rushing leaderboard with 20 carries, 267 yards, and 6 touchdowns in one game. Boise State, not known for the running backs. Mostly known for having a quarterback slinging play actions, maybe some deep throws here, but tight ends and quarterbacks And running backs, not really known to be coming out of Boise State, but we'll see with Al Ashton. Number 4, Nico Lamalive. Yep, that's going to be tough. He's a quarterback for Tennessee. And just look it up, and then you can tell me in the comments how to pronounce that, because I'm pretty sure I just butchered the heck out of that. He went 22 for 28, 314 yards, 3 touchdowns, and has shown what kind of chemistry he has with his young receiver weapons. Brew McCoy, he's not young. He's been there. He's going to be drafted. He's going to the NFL next year. Dante Thornton and Chris Brazel. I don't know. I should probably know these. But putting this thing together, doing the show by myself, I'm a little over, a little bit everywhere right now. All right, sleeper teams. Sleeper teams. These are teams that, yeah, you probably thought they were good, but they weren't going to do anything with it. After week 1, these teams might be doing something. Oklahoma Sooners. Now, big name, right? Big school. Big expectations every year. But moving to the SEC, not a lot of people thought they would contend. After seeing their game, I saw things that they did against Temple that I had not seen Oklahoma do against any other opponent. And that was just annihilate every aspect of the game. They dominated. And I'm talking rushing defense, pass defense, special team, like the punt average, the punt return allowed. It all over total domination of that game. Quarterback Jackson Arnold led the charge with 4 touchdowns, all through the air. But it was the defense that really caught my eye, allowing under 200 total yards, 6 sacks with 4 fumbles, 2 interceptions. If this defense gets better along the season, Oklahoma might have something to say about who's winning the SEC. And a lot of people are going to start talking about Oklahoma depending on what happens between Texas and Michigan next week. So look out for them. Another team, Purdue. Purdue may not be my favorite in anyone's mind, or not my favorite, but anyone's favorite. Especially just like in the Big Ten. It's like, if you're not a Purdue fan, like, you're not thinking Purdue Big Ten championship. But don't count them in just yet. Like, Texas transfer Hudson Card had a hell of a game. Went 24-25, 273 yards, and 4 touchdowns. If the Boilermakers can get some consistent offensive line play and get the rushing game going, the defense, like, if they can stay healthy, get some pressure on the quarterbacks, that Purdue might be a team to watch out for. I'm not saying for national championship. I'm just saying to play spoilers in the Big Ten. Talk a lot with Oregon, like pretty much what Iowa does until it gets to the Big Ten championship, and then Iowa just falls apart. Speaking of Iowa, I don't know what Iowa was doing on Saturday, but it's nothing I've seen them do before. 40-0. 40. An Iowa offense put up 40 points. So now a lot of people are saying they didn't have their head coach there. It's like when the boss is away, like, so we all know Iowa has a great defense. And sure, they know how to recruit tight ends, but never put a good offense together. And I clearly did not expect that. Dropped 40 in a shutout against Illinois State. But we'll see how week 2 goes for the Hawkeyes. They go against their in-state rival, Iowa State, who just beat North Dakota 21-3. Like, it's week 2 is gonna be fun. Week 2 is gonna be fun. All right. Next, we have who let you down. So the first time I have for this, don't really talk about them in the beginning of the year, but for the last couple of years, we end up giving them a little credit for what they have accomplished, and that is Houston. So this season, I was like, okay, I'm going to pay attention to Houston. I'm going to see what they can do. And then they go ahead and lose to UNLV 27-7 at home. So for that reason, they let me down. Yeah. I hope Houston can turn it around because I always like seeing them at the end of the year. They kind of do what I think Purdue's going to do this year, and that is, like, they'll contend for the conference and then ruin someone else's dreams of winning the conference. But after what I saw with Houston, it looks like it's a rebuild year. Another team that let me down, Michigan. So Davis Warren is not ready for the starting job at the Wolverines quarterback position. The person it should have been all along was Alex Orji, who last year proved to be a weapon. So if it weren't for their defense, who was also shaky at times, I truly think they would have just lost that game, which would have been just tarnished all of their credibility as defending national champions. That was a horrible showing. I hope that Orji will be like week 2 starting going against Texas. Because what they did against, who they even go against? Ball State or something? They will lose against Texas by a lot if they come out looking like that. Let's see. Last but not least, the team that let me down, Clemson. Really let me down. They were my bold prediction for the week, and they couldn't even move the ball, couldn't even score a touchdown. I'm shocked they even got a field goal off. Good Lord. So I will not go for Clemson against another ranked opponent for my bold prediction. Maybe in general, like if it's like Florida State or whatever, because I don't believe in Florida State either. But yeah, not going to do that. So the question I was going to discuss with Tyler, and you guys can tell me in the comments or wherever, is Clemson done being a powerhouse? So we know Dabo Swinney, hell of a coach, hell of a recruiter, doesn't want to take any part in the transfer portal. And he's not going to turn anyone away, but he's not going to go ahead and pursue and do what these other teams are doing. And which I think it's dumb on his part. But that's his method. So I don't think Clemson should be out of the discussions for a powerhouse, but it seems like they are on a downward slope right now from being a powerhouse. Like, they're not going to be considered favorites against highly ranked opponents like they were the last 7 years. So that's it for those segments. Now we got week 2 predictions. So, starting out, we got Texas at Michigan. I'm taking Texas in this. I thought from what I saw out of Michigan, you can't correct all what went wrong with Michigan in 1 week. And Texas is way above them in talent on both sides of the ball. That Michigan might have an edge on defense, but yeah, no, going Texas. Next up, we got Western Michigan at Ohio State. I'm taking the Ohio State Buckeyes. Western had a good showing last week. They couldn't capitalize off of Wisconsin's mistakes. They had that fake field goal that was really fun to see. But that muffed punt really it let Wisconsin back in and give them some hope. And Wisconsin, as good teams will do, took advantage of it. And they ended up winning the game. So yeah, Buckeyes win this one. Northern Illinois at Notre Dame. Taking the Irish on this one. Northern Illinois, good team in the MAC, but not here against Notre Dame, who's just coming off a big win against Texas A&M. They do have to watch for that big win hangover, though. Got to watch out for that. Marcus Freeman, not going to let that happen. We got Kansas State at Tulane. I'm taking Tulane. Yeah, I don't think that's really an upset. I mean, you can look at it as an upset, but Tulane at home, Kansas State. Yeah, I'll take it. That'll be a mild prediction. Not a bold prediction, but a mild prediction. Arkansas versus Oklahoma State. I'm taking Oklahoma State in this one. Arkansas been competitive the last few years, but now I think, like I've said with a lot of teams, it just seems like the rebuild year. So yeah, Oklahoma State on that one. Bowling Green at Penn State. I'm taking the Nittany Lions on this one at home against Bowling Green. Next we have McNeese against Texas A&M. Texas A&M is going to take care of that. Maybe tune up some mistakes that they had against Notre Dame. Correct them with this game. And then move forward. Texas Tech at Georgia. Georgia is going to be favored in every game, depending on what Alabama does. It's like they have a game coming up in like 3 or 4 weeks, so maybe we'll see. They might come out even with the odds with Georgia and Alabama. But yeah, Georgia, big. Iowa State at Iowa. You know what? The home team has won the majority of these matchups. Iowa's at home, picking Iowa. Baylor at Utah. Cam Rising going to put together another huge game for the Utes. Utah over Baylor. Middle Tennessee against Ole Miss. This is Ole Miss. This is another tune-up game. This is nothing for Lane Kiffin. Florida A&M at Miami. Taking Miami. Mario Cristobal. A lot with these other games. Pick out the mistakes that you had in week 1. Let's fix them against Florida A&M. Kansas at Illinois. This is a pretty good game, I think. I'm going to go with Illinois in this one. Southern Florida versus Alabama. Taking Alabama. Buffalo at Missouri. Missouri big. Nichols versus LSU. So LSU, Brian Kelly was so mad last night at the press conference after the loss to USC. He's going to let his players know how much he was unhappy letting lead go in the fourth quarter. LSU big against Nichols. Tennessee at NC State. I'm picking Tennessee. Tennessee showed me they had some offense. They improved in defense a little bit. Let's see how they do against the Wolfpack. Houston at Oklahoma. Like I said, I like Houston. I'm rooting for them, but Oklahoma is doing things special this year so far. It's only week 2. It's only week 2, but still, what they showed in week 1. Let's see if they can keep it going. Oklahoma over Houston. Appalachian State at Clemson. Here's my bold prediction of the week. Appalachian State is going to beat Clemson at Clemson. That is fine. Boise State at Oregon. Boise State, like they showed they got some dudes that can play this year. Oregon showed that they can come out really flat and against a better team, which I think Boise State is, over Idaho. Oregon could have another trouble, could run into more trouble this week. Still picking Oregon to win, but watch out for the trouble. Northern Arizona versus Arizona. I'm taking Arizona. Arizona's got a few tune-up games before they start getting into major competition. Utah State at USC. I'm going to take USC on this one, coming off that big win. And that is going to wrap it up for today's college football episode. If you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. Our link for our Facebook page will be down in the description. Make sure you check that out. That's where we have mini clips, polls, breaking news. That's not really breaking news. It's like we're a little busy, so we might not be the first ones to report on it, but if you happen to be scrolling, you're like, oh, dang, I didn't know that happened, and then, go ahead and read on about it. Next up, we will have an episode of college football review of week 2 and what happened in NFL. Week 1. Can't wait. We're not having an NFL episode this week because nothing really happened. So, we will catch you all next week